of the salivary glands. By diverting the saliva of dogs into test tubes, he could precisely measure if and how much they salivated during digestion. When food was presented, the dog salivated quickly, an inherited salivary reflex. But over repeated testings, a strange thing happened. The dog salivated before contact with the food. Just the sight of the food was enough to stimulate their drooling. Then, just seeing the food dish, or even hearing the footsteps of Pavlov or his assistants, was enough to trigger this built-in reflex. What was going on to elicit this response? Pavlov decided to find out by systematically varying the stimuli and measuring the dog's reaction. Metronomes, lights, and bells were all used as stimuli, and they all worked as stand-ins for the food. What mattered was not the kind of stimulus that was used, but the fact that it reliably signaled that food was on the way. Pavlov had discovered a fundamental type of learning called classical conditioning. An original stimulus elicits an automatic, unlearned response. Both stimulus and response happen naturally. They are unconditioned. Then a second, neutral stimulus that never elicits the unconditioned response by itself is introduced just before the presentation of the original stimulus.
wanted to work with, or sometimes I was thinking of a text or an idea in my head and tried to work out what a good combination
A leading
would
activist
be.
investor and
It's
a
always
pension
a
fund
sense of
writing a letter
play,
to Apple saying the company
of
needs to address a
combinations,
growing
and
public health
possibilities.
crisis. At issue, youth
did many
phone
book
addiction
covers as
and
a
the challenge to
freelance
kids' mental
designer.
health.
Very early
More
on, I worked for
psychologists are
companies
doing
like
studies on the
Shokin
increasing
and
link
Harper &
between
Row.
increased teen
By the
anxiety,
time it
depression,
came to the
suicide,
Craig Owens
and
book,
phone
it was
use.
something different
Activist
that I
Jana
was
Partners
designing as
usually
an
pressures
artist
companies to make changes
for
based
a
on
writer,
financial
friend, and
reasons,
colleague.
but it says Apple's high-flying stock
always been
could be hurt in
interesting to
coming
me
decades
when one
if
image
it faces
can
a PR
span a number
backlash.
of
Long story
sites
short,
and
Jana thinks the
forms.
issue could ultimately
Small
affect the
scale,
stock price. Jana Partners co-wrote the letter to
reproduced
Apple
in
with the
printed
California State
magazines,
Teachers Retirement System, or CalSTRS.
gallery
Together, they
size,
control about $2 billion worth
on
of Apple
billboards, and
shares.
of course now,
Here's what Jana
a
Partners
life
and
in
CalSTRS are
perpetuity
asking
online.
Apple to do. They want Apple to develop new software
I think
tools
it's
that would help
important
parents
to keep in
control
mind
and limit
what
phone
areas
use more
in the
easily.
image
They also
are
want Apple to
most
fund
productive
research,
and most
how it
important
affects
for
young
the meaning
people
that
on
I wanna
smartphone
make,
overuse
and
and
I
addiction,
arrange the text
study
and
the
other
impact of
elements.
overuse on mental health. So far, no response from Apple. The move is part of a broader reevaluation of the effects on society of tech companies such as Google, Amazon, social media companies such as Facebook and Snapchat, which are all facing questions about their reach into everyday life. In New York, Deirdre Bolton, Fox Business.